Glad that everyone can take a minute out of the day to come here at our Brownsville meeting. It's a nice day outside, and I'm not going to keep you too long, but we just want to bring people up to date on what's going on and what we have. And we have a lot of things to share with you about what's going on in the neighborhood. And so we appreciate it. Again, welcome. Thank you for attending. And let's move on with our also welcoming from our Vice President.
Hello, everybody. This is our October meeting, second Saturday of the month. And we encourage anybody in the community, in the Brownsville community, outlying areas, city, to participate. We don't have too many opportunities nowadays to talk person to person and have actual discussion. Most of it seems to be over the phone or through other texting means. So please participate. It's really a good opportunity to speak good, bad, or indifferent, whatever.
Right. And we are fortunate to have a lot going on in the Brownsville neighborhood. And I just want to share a few things. One, we had a meeting, a site hearing last week with Nuveen Development. They're going to be working with the removal of the Sawyer Towers and the rebuilding of the residential units for seniors and affordable on the 7.5 acres. And we were there at the site hearing and heard what would need to be done. They're getting some variances. And we had the general meeting last Thursday, and it passed 7-0 at the general meeting. So now all the hard work begins. The variants were there were 4 of them. One was dealing with number of trees. The other was reduction of parking, the boundaries or the perimeter of the property. And there was a 4th one. I don't remember what the 4th one was. But there were small, not major, but there were concerning variances, but it passed. And they heard it loud and clear that they must put more trees in the area, and we're going to be seeing that. But the hard work after this is us being more involved with them. The Civic Association, the neighborhood, we are going to schedule a meeting for the group to meet with the people that are living in the Capitol View housing complex there, and the owner of the neighborhood house, because they're the most affected by the development in there. So we have 70 homes over in the Capitol View, and Mr. Stowe made it clear he wants to be involved. So we're going to set up a meeting to meet with them, and then as things progress, we'll have a general meeting to bring people up to speed. But the reason I say this is the hard part, because if you look up the project on the website or how you see it, the buildings that you see are just there to show mass. That will not be what goes there. And we made that very clear that we wanted density. You know, we want it to be done right, appropriate and sustainable. Not that we're going to have 500 people there, but they reduced it somewhat. But it's the presentation of the building that we're more concerned, because it faces our northern boundary, which is 670. So we wanted to at least have a better presence and also represent architecture from the neighborhood. So that building, if you see anything on that, it's just to show the real design is coming now. Once we get together with them and bringing stuff to the neighborhood and let them see what we need, what we want, that's what and they're willing to do that. Well, they have to do that because we are part of the city's eye on them and the commission as well as the civic. And so that's good news for us, because we have some ideas of how we don't want them to come build that and it becomes an isolation from the neighborhood. We have to be there and be a part of the community. And that's in design and function. So we're going to be working with them over the next year. I think they were saying that the tower is supposed to come down early next year. I don't know. I don't know. Have any information about
it? They're supposed to start this month, but I think they were waiting for the variances to go through.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's good. So we'll see a different light. And I think it would be nice to take a fresh look at that site with the towers gone. so you can kind of help to see what will really blend in there. It's hard to look and see the towers and try to see that unless you're skilled in that. So we're glad they're going to take them down. And then the question was asked about Monroe Middle School site, and we don't know what that is going to be, but we are keeping a close eye on that to see what it can be develop into. So that's another available. And then you have another site that would belong to the school board with Felden Elementary School site is also there. So I don't know what the school board is going to do, but I think that that's something that I think that maybe we should, I just thinking out loud, should go and speak with the school board and see what are they planning so we can know how to position that, because that's critical land in the neighborhood. It's very critical that especially now you have this project. And one of the real big things that's no matter how it goes, because there's a lot to happen between now and before they put a building in the ground. But right now it's at $149 million. And by the time they get done, it'll probably be $160 million. That's a lot of money coming into Bronzeville. That's just bricks and mortar. That has nothing to do with the human capacity and the impact that the humans will have on that with the retail, with economic engines that will drive. So again, I think we have to think over the winter, maybe having a real decent, planning with the school board, someone about how do we factor that in. We don't want to just keep putting stuff in and you just have to Mickey Mouse it together. I think it needs a careful planning for that area at this stage of the game, because that's a lot. That's the biggest impact outside of the caps in the neighborhood. So it's a lot of money coming in, and we're glad that it's coming, but we have to steer it in the right direction. It's very critical for the future. So we'll be working closely with them on the impact and the design and so forth. Yeah, Bob.
I think the BNA Planning Committee would like to partner with you on that.
Yes.
Because we also have the redevelopment of Mount Vernon Plaza happening in that area. And so there's a lot of land available north of it's going to be developed. And, we all would like to see it done in a way that really integrates these new buildings economically and socially within our neighborhood.
I think Bob, that's a great idea. I think what we have to think about, maybe the first of the year, have a meeting, maybe have them here, bring the developers in, the planning committee, and sit down and let them project. Let's hear them tell us. We hear some things we have, but we have a critical mass here. It may not be a formal study, but it can be that can initiate that kind of a study.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea, that we can put something out there, and you can talk to the planning committee and get back with us. But I think we should schedule something that we can have here at the church or at the NEAC on Model building there.
I'm chair of planning, so.
Yeah, when we can. Yeah.
I can say the answer would be fairly positive.
Right. Well, and that'll be very nice if we can do that.
So if I may enter on that discussion, the thing that we need to think about is a master plan of the site. We need to have some kind of intentions, dreams, hopes, and wishes for all the available things that we're talking about, and see them in a whole plan, and not look at this site for this site for that, and then how do we connect it. It all needs to be thought of as a development. It's a piece of the development. It's a piece of the development. It's all the same project, but it's been divided up into smaller projects. Think holistically. And what this also is, how many years, there's people in this room who have been here since day one when we reorganized 20-some years ago. We kept talking about, this is the neighborhood. This is for the whole neighborhood. People were saying, oh, you were only talking about Long Street. You're only talking about around the hospital. Guess what? All the major development now is on the north side. from Leonard to Atchison is going to be, you're going to be able to see through. School's gone. The towers are gone. Hasn't been that way for how many decades? This goes back to what Pastor Pinckney said years ago. He could stand on Mount Vernon and see all the way to the railroad, which is our northern boundary. So we haven't had this happen since the 60s. Mm-hmm. So we have an opportunity. So those people who doubted us, naysayers, whoever else, that we weren't concerned about a holistic neighborhood, this is where the action is going to be for a long time on this side of the neighborhood. And we're also saying, community, this is a time to participate. Capitol View, you need to participate because you're in the middle of it. You have neighborhood house on one side and this big housing development on the other side. And then on Atchison, where the school site is, that could be whatever the community wants it to be. We have things that we need that have been talked about. This is the opportunity. We had these kind of community meetings when we did Poindexter Village. Here we go again. Think master plan. All right. Yes,
and I think one idea that we can look into, if we can contact OSU and see their regional planning department and see if we can get a couple of students to take it on as a project. You know, it may, you know, I don't know how, but we do need that kind of input from them. Yeah, and we have so we'll look into that. And Stephanie, you had a question?
Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about Mount Vernon Plaza coming down and that whole area behind it. You know, is there any talk of redoing the housing projects for the because it's been years since that has been redone on St. Clair to
St. Clair and Old Leonard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's the towers are right in front of them at a little distance, but it's almost next door to the Mount Vernon Plaza that they're doing. So any talk about
this is what we're saying. We get a master plan that will stretch from St. Clair to 20th. You know, from Mount Vernon to Old Leonard, and we're to the access to the freeway right there where the clinic is. Has to be redirected, redeveloped. And what we need to do is a plan. We need to have a conversation on that block of land because if we don't do that, we're going to get a mess. I mean, a gradual mess. But we don't want that. So we can plan ahead. So I think, you know, we have to look at the OSU, if that department can help because we don't have funds to pay our organization, but we can talk to them and see what they can do for us. And if we can get a grant or something like that.
This area is going to be well beyond 160. This can be several hundreds. Who knows, 3 to 5, I would say, because you have infrastructure. You're going to have new roads. You're going to have all kinds of new lighting. You're going to have a completely different streetscape than you now have to be able to get in this area, both from Leonard and from Atchison. And then whatever happens at Mount Vernon Plaza area, you have the same situation there. This area was messed with badly back in the 60s. They eliminated the street grid, which we have from Mount Vernon going south, and they imposed a very suburban feel. Now, this neighborhood has the opportunity to say, you know what? We want to feel like an old neighborhood, but with new construction, new projects. Give us our streets back. Give us some streets that were taken away. When you do that, you make it feels denser. It's more friendly. It makes it feel connected to the part of the neighborhood that is to the south. So that's part of the opportunities that we have too. So we're talking about a lot of money. And a lot of possibilities. And this is the opportunity to think big now and have people tell us later, well, can't do that, but we'll give you this. So right now, anything's possible right now.
So that's what we are planning on going forward. And that's good. And then with that, I'll let Dana go with the department that's a good segue into development in the area.
Yeah, so the development, there's a lot of things happening. And one thing that we're wondering about is we have some kind of movement on property there at Leonard from the west side of Care Point East, which is almost to Taylor, all the way to Champion. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of development there.
Yeah, what OSU is planning to do is the land west of OSU East is contaminated. And so they're going to remediate the soil and build a new parking lot for OSU East. And then once that's done, we're going to take the existing parking lot east of OSU, right in front of OSU East, and redesign it so parking is actually easier. Because right now, parking is a nightmare. Because the spaces are too narrow.
Right.
So that's what, beyond what OSU owns to champion, I really don't know what's going to happen. That hasn't come before the commission at this point. But we know what OSU is going to do west of OSU with the land they are doing.
Well, this would be the second remediation we had in the area. The first one was with arsenic behind Maryland Pool. And that was
Saunders
Park,
which butts up to this very spot. They're adjacent to each other, and that was a major.
It was an agricultural plant. They made fertilizer there, so they just dumped things in the ground or wherever they did it. So that was a major cleanup. It cost the city $2 million. Yeah, almost, when they did the remediation. Almost, yeah, it was 1.2. Then they had to add other stuff on top of that. So yeah, they cost them a lot of money to remediate that. So
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, so this is a long, narrow lot right there beside Leonard that for a long time has been talked about various things. So that's good because we've also made claims in this neighborhood that this neighborhood, before the city, that this neighborhood was a victim of environmental racism. And we said that in city council years ago, dealing with Saunders Park. Very next day, because of that statement, they completely fenced in the park. They had every city park person there to fence that off so they could start remediation. So this kind of continues that process, but they don't seem to have the same barriers up that they have previously for some reason.
Yeah, well, that's good. Also, we can see the deal is coming to fruition soon. Where the deal funeral home was, the building is almost completed. So they have some finishing touches to do, and they got to put the clock up and the sign up. So we're waiting for all the good stuff that we want to do.
So for the development. Now, when you think about Long Street and Spring Street, you will feel more connection between the neighborhood and downtown neighborhood in Columbus State, because all those areas are planning major developments that have been talked about recently. And you have the YMCA is going to put a new facility there at Washington and Long, which is across from the parking garage and across from Columbus College of Art and Design. So that's going to be there, and then you're going to have housing, apartments that are going to be further down on Long Street. They're around Cleveland. And then they're also talking about a park in that area between Cleveland, Spring and Long, going along the YMCA. That'll be between there and between Long and Spring. So that is all going to become connected again. Then you have the nurse facility, the hospital with Columbus State. Major development, they just fenced it in. That's going to be there at Cleveland and Spring. So when you have all those things, again, you're going to, with the density, you're going to have opportunities for housing in our area. So there's going to be demand, for instance, for the nurses or other people in that area. You're going to have workforce housing, more of it in this neighborhood.
Yeah. and because of how the area is located and laid out. Any questions on this development? Okay. I just want to also bring you up to date about working with the city. They're finally going to work with us to give us there's a grant that's coming out for cleanup and beautification for next year. We are going to apply for something with that. But also they're going to work with us to get us a generator, seeing that they're not going to put electric in our park, the Bronzeville Community Park. But they said they'll work with us to get a generator as long as we can manage it so that we can have our music, like in the September, October season. You know, Sunday afternoon, you can come and hear some nice quiet music right in our park, right there at Hamilton and Spring. So they have agreed to this. So we're in the process of looking for a portable generator that we can get, and we will hold on to it. And when we have a function, because that has plagued us for the last few years, where we had to borrow electricity from a neighbor. Well, we can't continue to do that because the neighbor has sold the house. So that's the end of that story. But we are going to get this generator. So next year we will have our own functions in the fall and whenever we care to, because we will have electricity. And that's a big, because we have a nice little park. So we want to engage the community to do things and come out there, and we can have the jazz, we can have just little nice things. And so we're going to be getting that hopefully sooner, before the end of the year, and then we will have it for next year and go from there. I want to let you know that it's been a long battle for these things. We've also still asking for our pedestrian lighting. And again, now we're talking about a redevelopment of a master plan. These are the things that we can be asking for in the near future to make it more walkable to the neighborhood.
And again, we've said it many times, this neighborhood is unique. It's not the only one in the city, but it's unique because we have everything. We have people that need financial aid in living with low-income housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, all the way up to whatever, max out on the sky's the limit housing. We have all kinds of businesses. We have schools. We have hospitals. We have a library. We have 2 college campuses just a quarter mile away from us, from our boundary. All kinds of churches. Not too many neighborhoods have that.
2 working theaters, too.
2 working, historically recognized theaters, the rich African-American history, all those things. I mean, it's a grab bag of everything. So when we go back to all this new development that we have an opportunity to be part of, all those things should feel part of the new development.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so we'll stop there. If there's any questions, we have a couple of comments from one for Mrs. Smith about how things are going with Poindexter, and I know John has something about the Push for Peace, Barnesville Push for Peace. You may bring an update on that. And anyone else have any updates?
Yeah.
And then we have Bob with some updates. So we just finished our development, what's going on in the neighborhood, and we're going to keep that going out, and our next meeting is November the 8th. So I just want people to know to tune in or come out. We'll be here, and hopefully we will have more updates on what's going on, and we like that. So, any other comments from anyone?
Well, yeah, one comment. Ann Walker passed away this past week, who was a supporter of the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association when we were reformed from day one. She attended almost every meeting till the last 2 years. She was an advocate for us as well as the city for her life, almost 102. And I know Willis and I, one of the things that I remember about Ann Walker is the time we went over there, and Willis and I were excited because we found out about the Bronzeville in the paper. And it listed the original cabinet from 1937. And we said, this was this and this. And we mentioned James Madison. And we said, And he's in the cabinet, and she says, Jimmy, he's alive. And Willis and I, what? We couldn't believe it. So she made contact with James Madison, who was 97 or 98 at that time, who lived in Maryland. So thank goodness Ann Walker was there to do that. And we were connected with the senior living facility that he was in Maryland. And Willis and I went there, and we did a tape asking questions about Bronzeville and the neighborhood. And we still have that. That's part of our archives. But that's what I remember most, when she got excited about Jimmy. That's what she called him.
Yeah, and I want to, give honor to her for starting her and her son Keith and the whole Bethany, congregation, the afternoon feeding lunch program. I mean, that is going 19 years now, and she was very instrumental in that. And sometimes you say, well, what can you do for people like that? But we fought with board development, hand over fist for over a year to get her name on that building, and we finally got her name, the Walker Building, right there with the Adelphi Development. And her name is with one of other women who were very instrumental in this neighborhood. And I mean, the women, we have one still here who's very instrumental in doing things here. And they honored them by putting their names on the buildings. And this came straight from Mrs. Garrett. When we were working with her, she had owned the Hotel St. Clair. And she said, if the guys were thinking about doing something, if they wanted to go to the moon, we will build a spaceship and create the fuel to send them. That's how they worked. And they had the Crystal Slipper on Long Street. And on Sundays, I mean, the middle class black community was all here, and they would go there in their white gloves on Sunday afternoons and discuss not just the personal stuff, but discuss business. A lot of buildings came where they got together. How much money do you need? What do you need? They did it at Crystal Slipper. And so that was the kind of women that we had. So when Mrs. Smith came to us and we saw what we were doing, she says, if you're going to do anything for this neighborhood, you must first learn the history. And that began our quest for looking for the article. It took a year and a half, to find that article, to bring this neighborhood back to its original name. That was kind of, so we honor all the women, and especially Mrs. Walker and others like her, who really have done a lot for us. And even here, like Dana recounted that moment that I found the article and saw these people. I didn't know any of these people. And when she said that, I said, oh gosh. And his sister was still living. And she called his sister. And then she spoke with him. And then we went down there and filmed it. And we still have that original filming of her that we hope to show in the future of him telling us how things were here and mentioning Mrs. Walker in the interview, how he was friends and what they did and all this kind of stuff. So it's like finding, King Tut alive and say, hey, what happened to you 2,000 years ago? It was really something. We had a good time there. And then we filmed him again when he made 100. We went back down with Dr. Jeffries.
Yeah, we went
twice. And we asked him, where OSU gave him he went to OSU and ran for track. And they gave him a jacket, the leather jacket. And he said, oh, this is wonderful. Because when I was running, I couldn't afford one of these. So the question came, what was it like running? He was a senior when Jesse Owens came in as a freshman. He said, what was it like running on the track with him? He said it's like running in the dust. He was that fast compared to the other athletes at that point in time. So it was nice. And she put us to him and also kept in touch with him as well. So we really honor Mrs. Walker and B. Walker for being a trailblazer and a supporter in her quiet, very persistent manner here at the Brownsville Neighborhood Association. So thanks for bringing that up. All right. Now we have Mrs. Smith to give us an update on Poindexter.
Speaking of Mr. Madison, I believe, am I correct?
that he was the first manager of
Yes.
Poindexter.
Yes, he lived there. He lived
And-
right there.
You know, I always say we have to connect the dots. This history is not a standalone history.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Madison was very important in terms of the social climate that was, and the standards of that climate, of if you were living in Poindexter when it was first developed. So it's, I just love how we can
Right.
connect. We don't realize how connected we are.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to connect that past with your future. And that's the foundation for our young people. And I'm always in the, right now, our young people are losing that local history in the educational process.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important for them to understand that. Like when I told these two gentlemen, you got to do your research. And when I was just talking with some young people the other day, and when you talk about that grand plan, that community coming together to help that and having that input, and talking with these young people over at Poindexter the other day, you know, the 5 theaters that we have in this community, most people don't know that. You had Marcus Garvey, who in his day was at the Dunbar Theater, which was at Mount Vernon and Champion. You had the Pythian, of course. Then you had Father Grace at the
Empress.
at the Empress, which was across the street from the Linden. Then you had the Cameo. But when you put all that history together, you realize how rich this community happens to be. And 6 years ago, the reason I did want to speak today, Broad Street Presbyterian Church, when they put in the Justice Park, they had the big cameo pictures of Mr. Gladden and Reverend Poindexter, because they worked together in the social climate of the day. But 6 years ago, they celebrated what would have been Reverend Poindexter's 200th birthday. And that just so happens to be this month, the date they used, because there is some discrepancies about the date, actual date, but they used October 26th, which is the 4th Sunday of this month. And the Lord put this on my heart. I'm not the smartest person on the block, okay? But He put this on my heart that it would be wonderful if our churches would come together and recognize, just say, we want to celebrate and speak his name and honor what Reverend Poindexter, his contributions were in the 1800s for this community, and specifically for this community. So I put together let us come together and celebrate and honor our hero, Reverend James Preston Poindexter, on his 206th birthday on Sunday, October the 26th. And I put a little one-sheeter. His history is volumes can be written about what he accomplished. So to put it on one page, I did try to put it together in terms of his political contributions that came, and because of that ward system, he was elected to the city school system at the school board. This is the 1800s now. He was elected to city council.
He was elected.
Yes.
Yeah, in the ward system.
Because of the ward system. He had, because his barbershop, now he lived at Oak and 4th Street. He came here in the 1830s over that Wilderness Road with the Depp family, the Good family, Dr. White, Waddy, the merchants that are in Hildreth, or Hilliard, and the Ditchfords, which would have been around up Arlington. They came here all about in the mid 1830s. And Reverend Poindexter, they encircled because of farmland, the land that they could buy. They bought, these freed black men bought 200 to 300 acres of land. They started, you had Irving Crest, then you had Hilliard, then you had the Depps in Dublin, and Dr. White and Poindexter. Now, Poindexter was the poorest of them all. He could only afford 40 acres. And he was around the Worthington area. And then you go a little east of that is where the Austin slaves, which is Westerville and that area. And that's where the Austin slaves settled. So you can see the contribution and the influence. But here in this area, well, you have to forgive me, I do have my senior moments. Reverend Poindexter's wife didn't like being up there in Worthington. So they moved to downtown. They moved at the corner of 4th and Oak Street, is where his house was, and where he was a part of the Underground Railroad. And then his barbershop was where, across the street on High Street, where across from the State House. So those persons that were governors that became presidents, he had a personal relationship with. So he had an effect on our educational process. He had a influence on the political process. In 1901, in our neighborhood here, Hawthorne Avenue was originally called Mann Street. And at the corner of Mann, or became Hawthorne, and Hughes, my grandmother moved from Water Street, which is now Marconi Boulevard, to that area. And Reverend Poindexter married my grandfather in 1901 in the parlor of that house. But that house was torn down to make way for Poindexter Village. So you see how that is all connected. I could go on, I can talk for hours on, but it's so important to understand the influence of Reverend Poindexter and the effect of what happened here.
Let me ask the question, because I'm looking at, I think you said 200th birthday, or was it 206?
It'll be 206 this year, this month.
Let's have a sidebar after this meeting. I think I may have something for you.
Okay.
But what you were saying earlier about the influence, when we were doing our research of the area, there were many statesmen, but they were ordinary folks, like barbers, that gave some fantastic speeches that were in the papers and about what was going on. A lot of them used to come in and give presentations at Shiloh, where they had a big auditorium, amphitheater in Shiloh. Yeah. It was one of the biggest. So, we found all these things and they had it printed in the paper. We have a whole stack of these, eloquent speakers who were just ordinary folks. Some went on to become, lawyers or school teachers, but just the rank and file were conscious. And when they spoke, when you read, you think, they took pride in speaking about stuff.
And the one other thing, my family had that personal relationship with Reverend Poindexter. I loved it. My grandfather, Mr. Good, Yancey Good, who fought in the Civil War, that lived on Water Street, worked as a janitor for the school department, and Reverend Poindexter, fiery man, a leader. It was written up in the dispatch. He wrote all the time for the Citizen Journal. But he raised Cain at the school board meeting because Mr. Good, who was a janitor, wasn't being paid the same as the white janitor. Now, this is in the 1800s. We still got that same problem today. And he was fighting when he didn't have an organization. He was an individual. And the other thing I loved about him, and I'll put it on here, as the minister of Second Baptist Church, he taught his young ministers, you better know the Bible. You got to study the Bible, right? But at the same time, you better know the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution. We need that today, you know. And he was teaching that in the 1880s. So I think we need to recognize him as our hero. He was the Martin Luther King of his day. And I can talk forever, but thank you for allowing me to share that moment of history. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comment?
Well, I'll just add my little bit to it. That we are going to have another Bronzeville Push for Peace. It's going to be in August. We're just trying to put all the pieces together. But what I'm really excited about is the atmosphere that's coming up, that this will be an area that's going to grow. Mm-hmm. This will be an area that's going to happen. And it really means that the people in this community needs to come together, understand our history, and also understand the role of the forces trying to stop us from having our history and what we're going to do about that. And with emphasis on that, let me just say to everybody that we need to start bringing people into these buildings, into these meetings, and let them know what's going on so that they would know the history and so that they would know what's going on from the various aspects of it. And because literally my generation is moving on, and if we don't get the younger generation involved in this, it will be lost, because I'm sure Willis has enough, Willis and Dana have enough knives in their backs that what could have happened that didn't happen. And now there's even more and stronger forces trying to make sure that you don't succeed. And this area is going to build, whether or not it builds with the beauty of what the vision is of Bronzeville, that's going to become in question. So that's all I have to say about that.
Right. And I think that's why with Bob mentioning, with the planning committee of NEAC, that I'm definitely going to make some calls and see, but we definitely have to have a master plan for now. When people are coming in, we have to know what's going on, because if not, we will lose the opportunity to engage people in the right way.
In terms of NEAC, the planning committee is meeting on Thursday, and we have two properties. One which may be of interest to you, one is 1107 East Mount Street, and they want a variance to open the daycare center. But the one that's more interesting is 440 Taylor, and this is the redevelopment of the Pilgrim School. And this is the site plan for what's going to happen on that property.
When is that?
On Thursday at 6:30. The Pride Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the developer? Yeah.
It's Homeport.
Homeport.
Yeah. Let me just pull up the agenda, because I have the owner and the. So the owner is Blueprint Community Development LLC, and the applicant is Homeport. Yeah. The other thing, District 1 is having a big table event on October 21st at 7 o'clock at Broad Street Presbyterian Church. And our intent is to review the Near East Area Plan and get input from people in District 1 as to how they want it to change. How does it need to be updated? The city will never do this, and I think it's up to us as neighbors in this community to start saying what we want to see happening in our neighborhood, because the Near East Area Plan is 20 years old. It was written in 2005. So things have changed. And so it is Tuesday, November 21st, or Monday. I'm not sure what day the 21st is.
Monday is the 20th.
Then it's Tuesday the 21st. And then it's at 7 p.m. And it's in the parlor, the Palmer Room at Broad Street Presbyterian Church. And go ahead.
When Chair Bailey was on the Near East Area Commission and Willis and I were on the commission for District 1, there was new additions put in the Near East Area Plan. So it had an update, and what we did, again, the city wasn't real responsive, so we told the city we want to do some things to the existing area plan. So it had some things put in it. So that's probably the same process. You can initiate that and say, this is what we're going to do. Yeah.
If those additions got into the
Yeah.
copy the city is handing out.
Well, I have a hard copy. I usually bring it. I did this time. But it has the addendum or the amended version. I don't know if it's
those pages.
2014, 2015, somewhere in there. But I'll look and see.
Really curious to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to.
You're absolutely right. It's not a document frozen in time. It has to adapt to current conditions every few years. So, great. The commission's on the ball. That's good.
All right. And we have a handout. And then. That's you can take it for them. Yeah. And with that, any other questions and or concerns? Eric?
I would like to say, the Bronzeville Food Co-op, locally, member-owned food co-op, getting a start. We are having a gratitude gathering, November 8th, also at Broad Street Presbyterian Church, 11 to 1. And we'd just like to thank anyone that has interest in the co-op, either has volunteered, any interest at all. It is a gratitude gathering. We'll have a little bit to eat there, some tables, resources, and so forth to talk about the co-op and what it is. And we'd love to have you all there.
What is the date again?
November 8th.
November 8th.
Correct.
What time?
11 to 1 at Broad Street Presbyterian.
And another thing for your calendar, we have the election coming up on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. I'm not sure what the date is. And it's an interesting one for this area because District 7 City Council seat is up for vote. The two candidates have to live in District 7, but the whole city gets to vote for people that live in our district. So please vote.
All right. There. Any other questions, comments? No? All right. Well, then we can ask that the meeting be adjourned. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?